So whenever you're ready, we can get started.
Great. Good morning, everybody. We will go ahead and call to order the meeting of the February 3rd TTAC committee. First item on the agenda is the minutes from last month. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review those. If there's no questions or changes, I would ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
Kyle Silvius, motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. We'll jump into the reports. I do not have a chairperson's report, so we'll turn it over to James for the secretary's report.
Great. Thank you and good morning. Welcome to our February TTAC meeting. In your packets that were distributed in advance of the meeting and online, you can find information related to the January administrative modifications. Administrative modifications are items that the TTAC and Policy Board have given staff permission to make minor changes to the Transportation Improvement Program in between meetings, and that does not need board approval, but you can find those listings in your packet and online. That would be our full report for this month.
All right, thanks, James. Any old business or new business?
There is no old business, but we do have a few items of new business, and Ryan will be presenting our one amendment for the Transportation Improvement Program.
Hi, good morning. As James said, Resolution 5-21 is a locally sponsored amendment in Elkhart County, the only one for this month. It's on County Road 40 from State Road 19 to County Road 7. They had requested additional funding for their right-of-way phase, which had been awarded by NDOT. So that item A for Resolution 521 has been in the tip for a little while. Just asking for your endorsement on the increase of funding for right-of-way.
Any questions for Ryan? If not, can we have a motion to endorse Resolution 05-21?
Bill Holder, so moved.
Tim O'Donnell, second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And Resolution 05-21 is endorsed. So moving on to transit.
Sorry, I needed to unmute my line. All right, Resolution 621 is related to the endorsement of the City of Napanee as the coordinator of transportation services for elderly persons and persons with disability in the Napanee area. What you'll see is that the next resolution that Tiara will be presenting is related to Elder House applying for Section 5310 grant from the state of Indiana. Elder House is part of the City of Napanee's operations, and when a municipality applies for a 5310 grant, they need to seek endorsement from regional organization that they are the coordinator of transportation services for the elderly or persons with disabilities, and then there's not another nonprofit that's operating in that area providing a like service. When Napanee has applied in previous years, you will see that we have done a similar resolution. So this resolution is not without precedent. It's just something that needs to be done when the city or any other municipality would be applying for Section 5310 grants. Since these are all related, I'm going to ask to hold any actions, and I'll have Tiara explain Resolution 721 and 821, and then we'll entertain questions. So Tiara, if you want to present the other two.
For the endorsement of Elder House Senior Center for the Section 5310 grant application, which is for procuring one low-floor minivan to expand their fleet and to help them accommodate the individual needs of their community, as well as to help Elder House continue with the flexibility to provide transportation to both medium and small size groups. And following that, we have Resolution 8-21 for the endorsement of the Riverview Adult Day Health Centers. They are looking to procure one local minivan to help better assist them with the transport of individuals that utilize their transportation services. If there are not any questions, I do ask for your endorsement of Resolution 7-21 and Resolution 8-21.
So yeah, we'd actually be seeking a endorsement of Resolution 621, 721, and 821, but could answer any questions about any of these resolutions if any members had any.
Any questions? If not, we'll just need a motion to endorse Resolution 6, 7, and 8.
David Armstrong, so moved.
Kyle Sylvius, second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Resolutions 6, 7, and 8 are endorsed. So we will move on to staff updates.
Yeah, thanks. So the wanted to share with you a little bit of information. We were hoping to have a little bit more final information when we added this to the agenda. Unfortunately, it's just not finalized yet, but let me explain. So the coronavirus response and relief supplemental appropriations, this was the appropriation related to the second round of corona relief funding. In that, there was funding provided to highway infrastructure that you may be familiar with, you may have seen. The bill provided $10 billion for highway funding to the highway infrastructure program. That was then allocated to the various states, and the state of Indiana would be on the receiving end of about $236 million under the Appropriations Act. In that, there is at least a set aside for the urbanized areas with a population over 200,000. In our region, that would be the South Bend urbanized area with South Bend, Mishawaka, and St. Joe County, as well as then a few towns that would be eligible within that urbanized area. The state is still determining and looking into how they will handle these funds in their allocation and how they will release those funds. In the past, the typical process and the typical philosophy that the metropolitan planning organizations and INDOT have shared is that when new money comes in, everybody goes up, and when money has to go out due to rescissions, everyone goes down. We win and lose together because it's all one transportation network. What that has meant in the past, whether it's ARA or other appropriations, is that the state has run it through its normal split process, which provides funding to the smaller urban areas like, say, Elkhart Goshen, or even to the rural program. So we're hopeful that the state will continue that, but that is something that the state is evaluating of how they want to distribute those funds. These funds do have a broader potential use, and I say potential use because it may be challenging in how Congress wrote those potential uses to actually use it in those ways. It is 100% funding, so it's 100% federal funding, no match required. It would, it needs to be obligated by September of 2024. And it could be used for a lot of different things. For example, it says that it could be for salaries of employees. It could be for revenue losses. Could be for routine maintenance, preventative maintenance, operation, or personnel, a number of different items. I mentioned that it could be challenging to use it for those ways, in that INDOT and Federal Highway doesn't have a good system and a system in place to easily say provide funding for personnel or salaries. We are trying to work through ways in which these funds could be tagged on to existing projects in upcoming fiscal years, so that communities could, say, not have to match their projects, and that then you would be able to use your more flexible local dollars, whether it be LRS or MVH or whatnot, for some of these other purposes. All of that's to say is that it's still early. INDOT has not provided final numbers nor final guidance. We're still in conversations with how that might proceed, but wanted to make sure that you were aware of these funds. I know some of you have reached out and asked, what do we need to do? So I wanted to make sure that you were debriefed and had information related to that. And I can answer any questions that you might have if you have any. And if you don't have any, I'll assume that I presented that perfectly. You completely understand, and that you know that it's still a little early, and we'll hope to get you information as soon as possible when we have additional supplemental information. So that is what I had. So we'll continue on, and I'll turn it over to Elena to give you a trails update.
Good morning, this is Elena Parrish. Like James mentioned, I have a couple updates related to trail grants. The first is around Next Level Trails Round 2. The DNR did announce a couple weeks ago that they are reinstating that funding, and this will only apply to those who had an application in originally, which would have been submitted back in November of 2019. You should have gotten an email from DNR. I believe it would be coming from the Next Level Trails email address with further steps. If you haven't gotten that, reach out to them. Their email is nextleveltrails@dnr.in.gov. And this could be if that the main person of contact has changed, or it could also just be kind of a lost in translation thing. So again, if you did submit back in November, but you haven't gotten an email from DNR about next steps, reach out to them or reach out to me, and I can also contact them to work through those. There is currently no information on round 3, but as soon as we learn more, we will be sure to let you guys all know. And then my next update is around the Recreational Trails Program, or it is now the Indiana Trails Program. Those applications are due March 1st. This is another DNR Trails grant. Again, the funding is for $50,000 to $250,000, and it's 80% funding, so it will require a 20% match. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I will do my best to answer them or pass them along to DNR to find out more information. We are still waiting for the application and the 2021 manual to be released, but as soon as I get that information, or if I find that information, I will, of course, be sure to pass it on to you. Yeah, if you're interested in applying, if you would like any assistance, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help.
Good morning. I have another grant update. This one's through the Indiana Department of Health and their Division in Nutrition and Physical Activity. They've done this grant in the past, but are doing it again this year for a tactical urbanism grant. So these are kind of short-term, low-cost projects that enhance walking and biking. Lena and I had the opportunity to work with the city of South Bend. I think at this point it's been 2 years now. We did a project by Madison Elementary, which is just north of the County City building, adding in bump outs for their crosswalk to connect people from the school over to the playground across the street. So those applications are due February 25th. So here in a few weeks. I think the maximum grant award is for $10,000 and there's no match required. But if you'd like any help kind of going through that application process, please let Elena and I know.
Yes. The next step update is for the reinstatement of fares on the Interurban trolley services. So in mid-January, we sent out a press release stating that on Monday, February 22nd, the Interurban trolley service and access service will be resuming normal fare collections. And just to recap, back in March of 2020, in response to COVID-19, the Interurban trolley had ceased fare collection, stopped front door boarding, and moved to rear door boarding to promote social distancing and reduce touch points on the trolley service. And since then, a number of steps have been taken to promote driver and passenger health and safety, which has brought forth the reintroduction of the fares. And one step that the Interurban trolley has taken since then, we have recently installed driver shield or plexiglass and steel barriers around all of our driver areas on the buses. So when the fares are reintroduced on the Monday, February 22nd, all the passengers are basically able to safely interact with the driver and pay fares at the fare box. And then in addition, of course, our front door boarding will be again resumed as normal. And we still will be requiring face masks to be worn by all passengers, which is still in accordance with the Help County ordinance, as well as the most recently federal mandate that was recently implemented on Monday. So we will still be enforcing face masks usage on the buses once we re-implement fares on February 22nd.
Our next update is just to provide everyone with a making sure that you're aware of opportunity that we have out on the street. We have a request for proposals right now for a regional disaster recovery and economic resiliency plan. It's a mouthful of a title there, but essentially we received funding from EDA, the Economic Development Administration, as part of our institutional capacity grant to focus on put together a plan related to COVID, disaster recovery, economic resiliency, kind of studying how COVID has impacted our region, what recovery and resiliency strategies could come out of that that could apply in the future for other situations. That's something that they've kind of requested of all of the regions across the country to work on as a priority item. So we have issued our RFP, our request for proposals, that is out right now and going to be due fairly soon here. I don't recall the date off the top of my head, but that is out there right now. I know we've gotten a few responses from firms stating of their potential interest, but we will await their full proposals here soon. I know that we have questions that will be due here shortly from all of those firms. I believe questions will be due on, let's see, the submission, the deadline for pre-submission questions is February 10th. We will most likely be holding a pre-submission meeting on February 16th, and then those proposals will be due on March the 3rd. So looking forward to seeing how those proposals come in. Just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that opportunity, and that is online and everywhere. And if you'd like, feel free to share it in your networks. That would conclude that update. One of our other items that we will be issuing, another opportunity for firms to submit on a planning project, is we will be issuing a regional freight and mobility plan. This will act as an update to our kind of previous freight work that was done quite a while ago at this point. Needs a fresh look at that to study really freight movements in the region, where there are potential strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, where there could be a prioritization either in the transportation improvement program or the long range plan, and just different ways that MACOG could support freight movements as we support all modes of vehicles, bicycle, pedestrians, transit. We also want to support freight as well. And so this doesn't have an official timeline to it. It hasn't been issued. It will be issued probably in Q1 here of the calendar year. So just wanting to make folks aware of that. If you have any interest and want to see that, if you're a local government or on the TTAC and want to see that RFP draft before we send it out, feel free to contact me and we'll be glad to share it and get your inputs on it, as we're still kind of in the final stages of development for that. So those are just two great opportunities for contractors, consultants to interface with our organization, and one that is an active opportunity and one that's coming up here in the next few months.
The transportation team's continuing to work through our new transportation improvement program for fiscal years 22 through 26. Some new updates there. We should have a draft of the listing of projects to provide to TTAC and Policy Board next week. And we'll look to release our kind of whole draft plan, including the narrative at the last week in February, with a tentative virtual open house being scheduled for March 9th. So we're continuing to work through those items and hopefully be able to present a final plan to TTAC and Policy Board in April.
Next item we have is privilege of the floor. Any comments from anyone? If not, we'll move into public comment. James, did we have any public comments?
We did have a public question, public comment that was submitted. We are working on an official response for that. Probably we'll have a more official response here at our February meeting for the policy board, so next week's meeting. But I can share that with you right now. It was a public question that we received from an individual. The questions were, why have a center turn lane between Bendix and Lathrop when both sides of the road are owned by the airport? And why are we reducing so many roads to single lanes? I believe the comment was due to an announcement of projects that were selected in our recent call for projects. And we had a second phase of Bendix that was selected. A previous phase for Bendix was under construction in 2020, I believe. But so far, what we've done is we've forwarded that to the city of South Bend so that they can provide a better and more direct answer, as this is ultimately their project. But from a broad perspective, a large part of the project is really regarding improving the road condition and improving the pavement condition. So I know the project was listed on our sheet as having a center turn lane. It may not have a continuous center turn lane through that whole length. But as part of the process, there's an opportunity to evaluate the actual design and where that center turn lane will be best and most appropriate. In factors like average daily traffic, safety, and accommodating all modes of traffic like vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrian can impact and determine a final design. So we're working on that final kind of response that we'll provide at the policy board. But that is the only public comment that we have received as of right now. And that's one that we're just waiting on a response from the city of South Bend to provide a more official and final response.
Great, thanks, James. If there's no further business, then we just need a motion to adjourn.
Jessica Clark, so moved.
Is there a second?
Tim O'Donnell, second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.